Peter, I want to understand a little bit more, and I think we all need to, the nuances of a no-fly zone and what Zelensky's really asking for from NATO on this front and why there's such hesitancy.
So that is a very important question, and one that they've debated endlessly since, pardon me, since this war began. What that essentially means is closing the air over the country, protecting the airspace from foreign intrusion. We saw that happen in Syria. It's happened in other countries when this type of warfare broke out, where another country was relentlessly dropping ordnance bombs on civilians. And it happened most recently in Syria, where the United States basically intervened, cratered a number of airfields inside the country and prevented other countries, including Russia and Iran, from dropping ordinances inside their country. And so that's what the Ukrainians are looking for. That would have the most profound impact on protecting civilians. The reason that we're seeing NATO and Western countries reluctant to do so, and you'll hear this mantra repeatedly, is that it would provoke a third world war. It would result inevitably in a direct confrontation between Western countries and Russia. The reality is, Catherine, that we are seeing an annihilation of the country of Ukraine with no indication that Putin will stop. You know, he didn't stop after taking Crimea. I would argue that the confrontation has been ongoing now for years, particularly in countries in the Baltics with cyber attacks. There have been targeted assassinations outside of Russia by Russian citizens and people deemed to be a threat to Vladimir Putin. And so the provocation argument really doesn't hold a lot of water. But there is obviously nuclear weapons that Putin controls, which are certainly cause for concern. We know that we're dealing with an individual who is quite unhinged, isolated, angry. Things have not gone as he expected. He has taken erratic actions, including the disappearance of some of his own generals. His defense minister hasn't been heard from now in 2 weeks. So there's a lot of obviously confusion and consternation as to what would happen if an airspace closure were to occur and there was to be a direct confrontation between foreign, Western, NATO countries and Russia. I'll add one last point.
Yeah.
There is a way in which Western countries can get the necessary fighter aircraft into Ukraine. That is, disassemble them and bring them across the border, or have Ukrainian pilots go into a neighboring country, Romania, Hungary, Poland, and fly those planes back to Ukraine and then have the ability to take on the Russians. They've taken down a lot of their aircraft with munitions that have been provided by countries like Canada, and they've even sunk a few ships off the coast of the southern part of their country. And so we're seeing, again, the resilience and the effect of arming the Ukrainians to do that heavy lifting, to fight Russia, even though they're an extreme underdog in terms of the size of the forces and the equipment advantage that Russia possesses. But if we get more to Ukraine, they will be able to do more, essentially, to protect all of us, because there is a certain inevitability if Vladimir Putin is able to roll over Ukraine and then go into other countries. That would provoke what's called Article 5, which is something all NATO countries have signed on to, that says if any one country is attacked, all countries then respond. That's what triggered the response to 9/11, where all countries, including Canada, went into Afghanistan.
So there's so much there to unpack. But Peter, what I don't understand is really, I mean, we're supporting them militarily with the arms, but we're not helping them physically do the fight. And
that's right.
So it prolongs what we're seeing. It prolongs the bombing of innocent people. And is this all because they're not a NATO member?
Yes, that is essentially the bottom line, Catherine.
Doesn't make sense. Does that make sense? It doesn't.
Ukraine was not given what's called Membership Action Plan in 2008 where they were making a request to join NATO. They were denied by NATO member countries, led predominantly by Germany and France at that time. And had they become members thereafter, this invasion, I believe, would not have occurred. But NATO countries have not gone to the length of intervening with personnel or equipment to the extent that they have in other conflicts.